So for today's Inspiring Creativity, I'm taking my inspiration from a Bible verse that just really spoke to me. And I want to tell you what the Bible verse is, and then I want to make just a couple of announcements before I dive right into our mixed media page or art journaling page. So let's go ahead and read this scripture right off the bat real quick here. So it's 1 Peter 5:10, and it says, "After you have suffered for a little while, the God of all grace, who called you to his eternal glory in Christ, will himself perfect, confirm, strengthen, and establish you." And this little verse, I was listening to a sermon on YouTube by Dr. Charles Stanley on his In Touch Ministry channel. And he was going over suffering and how we are to respond to it. And the way that he took this verse and kind of broke it down, I loved how he did this. He said, okay, here in this verse, this is what God promises to do: perfect you, confirm you, strengthen you, establish you. So perfecting you, he brings healing and restoration where there is brokenness. Confirms you, he reassures your identity and calling in Christ. Strengthens you, he provides the inner fortitude to endure and keep walking forward. For establish you, he sets your feet on firm ground, securing your path with purpose. So I did provide a PDF, free downloadable PDF that looks just like this for you. It's got the verse, it's got some of those 4 points that Dr. Charles Stanley made, and then it has just a little place to ask that asks for some reflection. So if you want that, it is in the Files tab in our Creators Creatives Art Studio group. So let me put that over here. And so I just thought, okay, I'm gonna just go with whatever moves me today. And for some reason, I wanted to try a really abstract coastal or beach or ocean. So I went ahead this morning and whipped it out. And I whipped it out on this little mixed media page. And as you can see, I kind of put the horizon line here, and I've just got all kinds of little colors. And I left the sky real big, and I thought that maybe I could, I'm gonna paint this again with us right now, so don't worry about that. But anyway, I thought what I could do on the second one, so I have another little mixed media pad I'm gonna paint this in right now, I don't know which one. I'll pick one and I'll write the verse, and this time I'm gonna write it really kind of small, and I'm gonna try to be a little bit more artistic about my writing. Usually I'm just like writing however. So that's just what was in my head. But as you know, with art journaling, you can paint whatever inspires you. You don't even have to paint. You can use crayons, you can use markers, you can use colored pencils, you can use chalk pastels, oil pastels, the list goes on and on. And so I just wanted to really refresh your memory about art journaling and how it's very unique to you and what you need. So if this doesn't light your fire, then don't do this. You do something that this verse brings up for you. And so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna flip the camera now, and I'm gonna get started. But well, first, before I flip the camera, let me just say this for the people on YouTube who will watch the replay of this later. Welcome to Inspiring Creativity. And I'm just going to read the verse really quick. 1 Peter 5:10 that has inspired this art journal page. "After you have suffered for a little while, the God of all grace, who called you to his eternal glory in Christ, will himself perfect, confirm, strengthen, and establish you." So what I was inspired by, I kind of took little bits and pieces, and I was inspired thinking about how the glory to come is so much better than all the suffering we have down here on earth. And so glory, I started thinking about, well, what shows off God's glory? And for me, I thought, I kind of feel like a coastal scene today. And that's where this came in. this abstract coastal. So let's flip this camera around and let's get started. So this is going to be fun today, and I want you to know that this is kind of new for me. Let me just see if I can't do this without messing everything up. Okay, let's see. There. Okay, I think we're good. Oh, hi, Tammy. Yes, amen to that is right. So I'm just going to be very playful with this and not concerned about making it look exactly like a beach. As you can see, it looks nothing like a beach. But I did start with a coast or a horizon line, and that kind of just helped my eye. I wanted to have a lot of sky, because if I want to write my Bible verse in here here somewhere, then I'll have plenty of room. And then my reflective stuff down here in the waters, or maybe this is sand, who knows? It's just abstract. So let's start with, and I'm going to show you all the colors that I used. Let's get them all in front of you here. I used phthalo blue, I used yellow mid, I used magenta, burnt umber, teal, and white. And so I'm gonna start, let's move all of these off the page. I'm gonna start with a tiny drop of this, just the smallest bit. Actually, let's go ahead and put a little bit more on it, because I do use it a little bit more than just at the beginning. And then I've got this really small flat paint brush that I just I went in. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I learned from my first one, and this blue was too saturated for my taste, so I'm going to just put a little burnt umber on my plate. Just get a little smidge of the burnt umber over here. And I am going to take a little bit of that burnt umber. Let's put it right here. Boy, that's kind of a lot. Let's wipe some of that off. And then I'm going to take a bunch of the blue, and I'm just going to mix that. So it just darkens it a little bit, makes it less blue. This was, again, phthalo blue. Okay. So now the next thing I did is I kind of turned it sideways, and I just decided, okay, I'm going to put my horizon line about right here. So I'm just going to make a little dash, and I'm going to come over here and make a little dash, and then I'm just going to drag my brush across. I'm going to go ahead and thicken that line a little bit. Need to get more paint on my brush. All right, let's thicken that line a little bit. And then I kind of brought some of this down beneath in a few places as just kind of almost like an underpainting. I ended up painting over quite a bit of it later. So just kind of put some of that there. And then the next thing that I want to do, so I'm going to put this over in my water and let it sit. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move in and make my sky. So this is the flat brush that I'm going to use for the sky. And for the sky, I need to get my teal. So we're going to get out our teal. And this is probably going to look pretty different than the first one that I did, but that's the joy and the beauty of abstracts, is like you just never ever get the same thing twice. Let's put a nice generous helping of white on there. I'll probably have to put a ton more. Whoops, let's see here. Okay, let's get this pulled back in front of the camera, and now let's take a little bit of this teal and a ton of white, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to mix that up. And again, that's really, really saturated. So right off the bat, I'm going to just take the tiniest hint of that burnt umber just to kind of, I don't know, give it a little something, something. I'm dipping my water in the brush. Ooh, let's get that the brown flake out of there. Just to make it, to help it glide a little bit more easily on this paper. And this is gonna start out really dark. Oh, let's see here. I have to do something on the computer. It made a noise at me, so I wanted to make sure I was still able to see. And I'm not being incredibly careful here because that horizon line actually needs to be chopped up a little bit, in my opinion, and not just this straight dark line that goes straight across perfectly. So I'm just pulling that color right up to this horizon line. And then I am going to dip into my white and add more white to this brush. And I'm just going to kind of lighten that up even a little bit more. And then I'm just going to start going up, 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 pulling that paint up as much as possible. And again, I'm dipping more white, bringing a ton more white in. I really loaded the brush up with white. And let's see if I can't get all the way up here to the top. And then let's get a little bit more white. And I want this top to be lighter. And I want it to be a little bit more bluey, I guess, or tealy down here, then up at the top. Okay, so already this is totally different than the other one I did. I kind of like it like this, so I'm going to leave that alone for right now. I'm going to go ahead and pull some of this color down here this time. Let's pull it down, and I'm just going to kind of put it right over those dark blue phthalo lines that I had painted earlier. And if they're still wet, it's okay that they will kind of mix a little bit with the paint, but actually they're not. They must have dried pretty quick. So I'm going to dip into my straight white and just pull that white in. And now I need to pause, and I need to get all the other colors coming onto my plate. Okay, so I'm just kind of letting that color drift down there. Okay, now it's time to load up. So let's put our yellow mid on the plate. Ooh, that was kind of a lot. And let's put the magenta on the plate. Okay, so I'm going to show you just a little bit of each one. And then I'm going to kind of go back and forth, and I'm not really going to clean my brush. And there's a reason for that. The reason is it will pick up those other colors, and it will harmonize. It'll just kind of help harmonize stuff. So I'm going to pull in some blues that are, well, let's dull that. Let's dull that a little bit. So I'm putting my burnt umber into that. And I'm going to need more white. I can tell you that. Right now, get a nice helping of white. Okay, let's really lighten that quite a bit. Quite a bit. Okay, so now I'm just going to kind of come in, and I'm just going to start popping in some different blues in a few spots up here, and even down here, and even kind of over here, and some up here, and pull it down here. Okay, so now I've kind of got some of that color going. I'm going to wipe my brush off on a paper towel. I'm going to come into my magenta, and I'm going to go, where shall I go? I'm going to go right next to that, and I'm going to put some white in there. But I'm keeping the stuff that was in my brush there, which is going to turn it purple. And I'm going to put a little bit of that burnt umber in there, a little bit more magenta, A little bit more white. And I'm just gonna pop some of that color in now. So just pop it in a few places. And this is so totally different from the other one I did. Oh, it's funny. It's funny, isn't it, how that happens? I think I'm actually gonna go ahead and rinse this brush now because I really do want to get into my yellow. And actually, you know what? I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna switch to a smaller flat brush. Okay, so let's get into our yellow. So let's pull some yellow over here to the side. Let's pull a little tiny bit of that burnt umber. And that just really made it kind of weird. So let's wipe that off and let's pull more yellow down here. And maybe a tiny bit of white. And I just want to pop some of that yellow in now. And I'm kind of trying to see where I had it before, trying to mimic the one I did earlier. And you know what? It's like just not going that direction at all. Okay, this is going to be different colors, different everything. Okay, so now I'm going to wipe my brush off. I'm going to go into my white, and I'm going to get that wet. And I'm just going to go ahead and see about lightening that up in some of these patches. And boy, oh boy, is this ever different than the other one. Oh my goodness. Crazy different. Okay, I'm gonna go in and rinse my brush. And I'm just gonna go in to my white, and I'm just gonna start blending as much as I possibly can. Just kind of blending that up into the sky, blending it down a little bit. I have never done an abstract painting like this twice, and I certainly haven't done it live. So you're gonna have to forgive me if it's completely different from the other one. And I may not even like it, but that's okay. Again, the beauty of acrylics, you can paint over them. You can just paint right over them. So I'm really pulling in the white now. Really getting some white on my brush and really making a go of it and just kind of going back and forth while it's wet. Just trying to really keep things moving. And I'm going to come down here and try to fill in, whoops. And then I'm going to get a little bit of that brown and just pull that brown in a few places here and there. And then earlier, what I was doing, I was really having fun with this, is I was pulling, and I gotta really rinse my brush, really good. I was pulling some of the blue, and let's pull a little bit, tiny bit more of that blue in. And I was pulling a little bit of the burnt umber in. Let's pull a little bit more. And I was even like letting a little bit of the magenta be in there. And then I need white. I need to get more white. Actually, you know what? I kind of like that color right there. And I was letting this kind of grayish color come in a few places. And I'm actually going to pull quite a bit of it in up here because this got a lot lighter with that yellow, like too much. So now I'm just going to pull that like that, and I do have to go in for more white. You know what the other difference is that I just figured out? I was using this white, my craft paint white, and it's much more liquidy, much more runny than this white here. So that is part of what is happening here. Okay, so now I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna kind of paint over in a few spots that gray. I'm gonna kind of pop some of that up into the sky, up here in a few places, just like a little hint of it, tiniest hint of it. And then let's come down here and let's kind of cover some of that dark gray. And let's get some straight white here. And I kind of want to just whiten some areas and make it really light and bright. And let's do the same thing up here in the sky. Kind of get a really light and bright area. Okay, let's pull just the tiniest hint of that blue back in. Oops, way too much. That's way too much. Okay, so I'm just gonna pull a little bit of that blue in because I kind of lost my sense of blue somewhere along the line. Just kind of going back and forth, pulling these different colors in. Where did that go? That was right here. And now I'm gonna pull some white right here and just let it cover over some of that. I want to break it up a little bit. It just got too heavy in here. A little bit too dark, a little too heavy. Now I'm gonna go back into my blue and I'm gonna grab some of that brown. And I like that color, that's kind of pretty. And I'm gonna pop my horizon line in a few more places. And just let that kind of be streaked around in a few spots. I don't really like it right in the center. Well, maybe I do. Okay, let's call that okay, actually. I'm gonna go in and put some pops of magenta in now. And I think I'm gonna use my teeny tiny brush. Hello, Linda and Pam. Oh yes, good point, Tammy. I love that. Abstraction is driven by our emotions. No wonder it's original, everything we create. Oh, thank you for saying that. That articulates what I'm experiencing and trying to do. It articulates it very well. And I'm just kind of popping a few hints of that magenta in, not very many. And that's awfully bright. So I'm gonna mix a little bit of yellow now with that magenta. And it kind of, ooh, that's pretty. That's pretty. I like that orangey magenta color. And I'm just gonna pop that in a few places too. I'm gonna lighten it up. I'm gonna get white on there and just really lighten it up. And then I'm gonna do this and take my finger. I'm gonna try to smear it a little bit. And I kind of like that orange, but I'm gonna go back in with straight magenta and just put a couple of dots and smear it in. And yes, I'm just using my finger, which sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Right here, I wanna put some white I want to break up that really bright one right there with a little bit of white. And I'm even going to let it break up the horizon line a little bit. Okay, let's get a little bit of white. And let's see here. I'm going to go back in and let's get that other little brush that I had, the flat one, but I need to really get the blue out of that. Okay, so now I'm going to come back to my blue. I just took the blue out and now I'm going right back into my blue. My burnt umber. Oh yeah, that's a pretty color. And I'm just going to kind of pull that horizon line, brighten it a little bit in a few spots. And then I'm just going to blend a little bit here and there. I'm going to come down here. And maybe even let some kind of blend down on the sides a little bit. Ooh, that was a lot. Probably didn't really want that much, so I'm gonna go ahead and rinse the old brush, come into my white, and I'll go ahead and mix the white over here with this. And then let's pull it over to a place on the plate where I don't have color that much. And let's lighten that up right there. Didn't want that so dark. Okay, this is completely different. So I'm not sure if I like it or not, but I could keep messing with it all day and still not be happy. So I'm gonna do one more thing to it. I'm gonna pull some white in right here. Just gonna pop some white. And then I'm gonna pop some yellow. Just a tiny hint, just a flicker. In a few spots, just to like give the eye something bright to look at. Of course, that's gonna make green, but that's okay. Okay, now I'm gonna hold it up for myself because I need to see what's going on. And I actually think I might break up that magenta line a little bit more. So I'm just gonna go into my white. Well, let's pull that white into this grayish zone. And let's just pop a little bit of that right across that bright, huge chunk of magenta. I feel like this area needs a little hit of magenta. Just the tiniest hit. That area is really wet right there. Yeah, so you can see I'm just kind of going back and forth and I'm trying to see where my eye wants to see colors show up. But I'm gonna stop there. I've got a mess on my fingers. So there is where I'm stopping on this one. And we'll let that one dry and then let's pull. So I gotta put that down there out of the way. Let's pull the one that I already did and let's see. I'm gonna try to plan. So this verse, it's kind of long. It's a long verse. So I'm trying to decide if I were to put it on here, would I want to write it super tiny up here and kind of let the lines get longer, or would I want to do a long line and then shorter and shorter and shorter? Or I can just emblazon it across the middle, but that just doesn't feel quite right. I'm going to take a vote. So if you're here and you have a vote, if you want to vote, number one choice is to write it in short to a little bit longer. Number two choice is to write it longer lines to shorter lines. And then number three choice is to just go ahead and write it across the middle of the page with the Bible verse maybe being like over here. So choice one was the regular, you know, like a short line, a longer sentence, and then number two choice is flipped, shorter, 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 and then number three choice is across. So if you have a vote, I'd love to get your vote. I'm not going to be able to actually write it right now, just because my hands are a mess and I'll make a mess. So I'm going to get out a few different choices. I'm going to take a look. I have a gold paint pen. This is an acrylic paint marker. So I could do it in gold. I could go super crazy. I don't think I will. I don't think that would, I don't want to use that bright of a color, I don't think. I could go with a nice brown. Is this brown? Let's see what this is. It doesn't even say. The lid kind of looks coppery, but I don't know if it's copper or if it's brown. I could also go with a white, but that might not show up very well in that sky. So I just wanted to show you that these are the acrylic paint markers. They are paint, so it works really well with paint. So just wanted to show you those. I have others too. I have this gold, it's just a gold marker, but it's big, so I will not, it's a thicker tip. I will not be using that. I have these, and that tip is actually, I'm gonna show you, let's see, I don't know if you can see this. It's a kind of a flexible tip, but it's kind of pretty fat, so that might not work because I want to keep it small. That's very fat, so I will not be using that. Okay, Tammy says longer to shorter. I agree, Tammy. I think that's kind of neat. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I just wanted to show you, I do have these copper pens that are really neat. Let's see if I can't show you. Well, that doesn't work on that. This is the cardboard part. That doesn't work on that very well, but I do have these cute little copper pens that might look really nice. I could actually do it in the copper pen first and write it out long to short. And then if I don't like how the pen looks, I could actually get a paint marker and go right over it. So I think that's actually what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do that now. My fingers are getting dry. The only thing I can't decide is if I want to do it on this one, or, let me bend over, if I want to do it on the one I just painted. So I'm going to go ahead and end, and I will make this decision after this dries. Because I want to, for me, I have to stand back. Like I have to walk out of the room, do something, come back into the room, and I have to look from a distance at my painting. And then I can get a better sense of, you know, which one would look better with writing, which one I like better in terms of the colors, you know, that sort of thing. So anyway, that's just normal for us to have to walk out of the room and walk back in and kind of look at things a bit. So thank you so much for joining me on this adventure of an art journaling page. I just want to say thank you, and I hope you have a very blessed